Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Life Reimagined. This is your gift to you. This is the time when, yes, you've been living your life. Yes, you've been making choices right along. Yes, life has been doing whatever it's doing to you and for you. However, now is the time for you to think about, okay, what is it that has made sense for me? What is it that hasn't made sense for me? What's going to be happening for me moving forward? And what choices do I want to be making? So this is really all about you. And as you see, we have workbooks. So each one of you has a workbook and a pen. Hopefully the pens all work. And my name is Susan Hawkins. I've been volunteering with AARP for a number of years. And in addition to that, I do career management work for a large company in town and have been in town since 1968. But I didn't come from here. So happy to meet you all and look forward to having a good conversation. And Jay?
Hi, my name is Jay McManus. I haven't been at this quite as long as Susan has, but one of the reasons I wanted to start was simple curiosity. I'm a curious person. And I think curiosity is one of those gifts that we now, at this age, have an opportunity to get in touch with again. Remember when you were 5 or 6 or 7 and the whole world was new and you were very curious because you wanted to learn as much as you could about it. This is an opportunity to revisit that time and approach it with an open mind, a beginner's mind. I like doing this workshop for that reason. Because I learn something every time I do it, and I believe in, as long as we're drawing breath here, we might as well make something of it.
I guess we are drawing breath. We have a nice small group, and we like to have 3 or 4 people at each table, and we've done that, so congratulations. Now, I would like you to introduce yourselves. So your name and what brought you here, just in a sentence or so. So, hi. Well, good, and you just retired, so when you're working, you know what somebody else wants you to do. But now you get to choose what you're going to be doing. Congratulations. Isn't that interesting that you've had a relationship for X number of years, and it's been a particular way. You both have left for work, you both have come home from work, and you've been on a particular pattern. And now you're looking at possibly a new pattern. So we are going to be talking about exploring. And I think one of the things that happens at whatever time in life is that sometimes we have too many options, and the choices begin to be, like you mentioned, a little scattering. So hopefully this will help you realize some of your choices and begin to maybe prioritize them, or at least have them out there so you can prioritize them as you wish. Okay. As Jay was saying, each time we do this, we learn from you. And we come up with some more ideas and options and hope the best for you as well. So thank you.
Sometimes not knowing how you're going to do it is an advantage. Because the older we become, the more we think we know. And that can be inhibiting. Because you say you're starting at point A and you want to get to point B. And you think, well, all right, I know 6 ways of getting from point A to point B. In fact, there are dozens of ways of getting there, most of which you don't know anything at all about. So not knowing is not really a disadvantage. It means your field of vision is wide open.
Your questions and thoughts, will really forward our action. And will help us all process. So as each one of you have introduced yourself, now you have an idea that there are people with different thought processes, people with different ways of looking at things. This whole thing is based on Richard Leiter's book, Life Reimagined. I don't know if you've seen it around. It is an interesting read. And then he went ahead and made this workbook for us. And the reference to this is in the back of the book, so you're in good shape. You can always find the reference. We also have some videos there. You can always find that. You can make your own Life Reimagined map. That's also referred to in your books. However, to speak to what Jay and Rachel were just talking about is that if you know the why you are here, what it is that you want to be doing, the how will follow. And so if you want to get from point A to point C, B is going to be created for you as you move along. And so don't worry about the how so much as what it is that really makes you interested in what's going to happen next for you. I'm going to work with this book because this is the one that I've written in. So that works out very well. If you open your book to the green page, you will see there's a wonderful spiral, and this can represent your life. And I don't know how many of you remember, before you were 4 years old or something or other like that, but at the bottom of the page is when you started this lifetime, and then as you've gone through the little spirals and the little elements of your life that have come in, you may decide sometime to make note of this. Oh, by the way, this is all confidential, and just because we're being videotaped does not mean that what you are saying is going to be broadcast. So you can say to each other and keep it here then. So anyway, in this spiral, make an X for where you are at this moment. And then we never know when our journey on this earth is going to end, but we can guess. And so whatever your guess is, that's at the top of the page. If you're going to live to 72 and a half, or for me, I'm afraid I'm going to live to 114, and I really would be, I don't know what that's going to mean. But anyway, so I refuse to put that in, but it might be a triple digit up there. So wherever your X is, and then to what you're anticipating the end, that is the rest of your life that you are thinking about. And that is the rest of the life that by the end of today, you may have some resources and some more thoughts about what you might do.
Any thoughts come to mind when you mark your present position on that pathway? Let's go to the next page and take a closer look at that pathway. And identify on that pathway a time in your life when you felt in sync, a trigger, that is a life event that forces you into a period of change. And 3, limbo, a transition or feeling of being in between. You can identify where in those, on that path, you experienced either one or all of those 3 events.
And notice that this spiral has a time when it goes down. And that kind of speaks to the spiral that you guys were speaking about already, that sometimes you're going forward. However, sometimes it feels like you're going down and you don't know when you're going to come back up. And I'm thinking about some of you who have had recent changes. And recent could be in the last 2 or 3 years. Sometimes it feels like, geez, I just don't know if I'm going to want to move forward or if I can move forward. Realize that that's part of life, and you can go back, you can look at the other people in your life when they have also had kind of a downward spiral as they continue in life. Give yourself permission. And go ahead to the next page and fill out your answers to those questions, the white page facing the orange page. Triggers can be brought to you by other people, and they can be brought to you by yourself. And think about, while you're identifying the triggers, where would you be or who would you be if you hadn't had those triggers? That's an interesting question. Talk with other people at your table. So everybody take about a minute and pick out 1 or 5 of your triggers and talk to each other about that. So about a minute a person, so that you can begin to get to know each other a little bit, and as you say something about yourself, you feel it differently than if you just wrote it. So talk to each other.
I see you don't have that. You've only got, oh no, you do too. I was gonna say, well, she knows what she wants to talk about. So I guess finally asking.
Okay. Wrap up your table conversations, please. We'll take a look back in a little more detail at these transition periods. And on the next page, question is, when was the last time you faced a big transition? How did you move forward? Spend some time working on that. Okay. Share with your table what that experience was like. What did you discover or rediscover about yourself, about life, during that transition? Okay, let's move on to the next section. One of the things that sustains us through a life is our value system. What's important to us? What do we care about? However, I believe that's not fixed. That can change. So I'm going to ask you to look at this list and choose what is most important to you now. Not what used to be important to you, but what's important to you now. And that leads right into the next section. Throughout your life, what talents and skills have you always been able to count on? What talents and skills have you always been able to count on in your life? Okay. Let's wrap up the conversations, please. The exercises we've been doing so far have led us to this point. And this point consists of the gifts, the things you're good at, which you've taken a look at, your passions, the things you love, the things that matter to you, plus your values, the things that motivate you, equal purpose. That's the formula that will help you try to figure out what's next for you. And the important thing to remember here is that you may not think you're ready. You may not think you're quite ready. Because even though all of us acknowledge, well, of course, change is the only constant, there's that little voice inside your head that's doing its best to protect you that's saying change. Oh, of course, but not now. Not now. You will never be completely ready to take your next step. The time to take your next step is just before you think you're ready. So, we've spent some time looking back. Now let's look ahead. Think about the time ahead on your spiral, where you marked yourself on page 2 when we started. What are your ideas, dreams? What if? Write them down. Don't think too much about this. And above all, don't limit what you think is possible. Again, try not to limit what you want based on what you think is possible. Because you want what you want.
I don't know.
You know, each one of us, as we talk out loud, we give the other people some more ideas and some reasons to say, yeah, that's me, or that would never be me. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Who else?
Yeah, thank you.
So now that you got some more ideas from each other, you know, what else occurs to you?
So, revisiting the purposeful life formula, at least Life Reimagined's version of it. Consider your gifts, the things you're good at, the passions, the things you love. Add to that the impacts. Who do you want to benefit? Who do you want to make a difference with? The values, the things that motivate you, and the possibilities which we've been exploring here. What you want to be, what you want to feel, what you want to have in your life. Narrow that list down and consider what first step you'd like to take in the direction you've chosen. The one thing I want to work on, my what's next, is what? Make a choice. And by the way, this doesn't have to be something miraculous or monumental. It could be quite simple, could be quite ordinary, but the process of making a choice is very, very powerful, whatever you apply it to. And as you do that, imagine what gifts and skills that you have that could help you reach that. What skills and gifts will help make that choice, move it into reality? Who would like to share with the room what you discovered in the process of making this choice? Yes. Thank you. Yeah, a couple of years ago, some intrepid reporter called up Bob Dylan and asked him what he thought of social media. And Bob said, "Get out in nature." Yeah, it's very important to know your starting point and to see it clearly, without making judgments about it or comments, either positive or negative about it. Be able to see what your current reality is clearly, without blinders. Because just as important as knowing where it is you want to go is knowing where you are. And the clearer you can be about both of those, the better in terms of the process as it unfolds. Anybody else want to share any discoveries or observations as you did these 2 pages? Yes. Great, great. Yeah. If you know that, and you've made a choice about that, I want to go back to school, the what, the where, and the how will show up. As long as you're clear about it, it will show up. Anyone else? Okay.
So there are a couple of good reasons for you to have come here today. And part of it is to get some of this information and to acknowledge for yourself what's going on for you. And the other thing is that hopefully you've made some good friends and there are other people in this room that you can create a conversation with. And along those lines, while we're talking about going to school, is there anybody who's going to like any classes and you're over 65, I think, and you spend $10 per credit hour at the U?
Is that the age 65?
I think it's age 65.
Wondering at what age you're able to take care of that.
I think it's 65, but go to universityofminnesota.org and see what they've got. And they make the sign-on very easy, even though I'm very much against technology. I can't do it very well, so I like much more the in-person. But there may be some other people in this room that know and have done some of the investigation for the university, and maybe for some of the other schools, I don't know. But as you think about learning, what are you going to get? And it may not matter what the content is. It might just be that you're in a learning environment with people who are interested in the same kinds of things. I have focused on this one in particular because it matches so well with my career work. However, we do have a group of people, and this might be something that you might be interested in doing, but there's the fraud watch, so we have some people in AARP doing some work helping other people understand what fraud might be coming to their doorstep or to their phones. And we also have caregiving resources, and so we have some of the people in AARP doing caregivers. I do not know I don't know if we have any classes.
How could one find out?
Just go to aarp.org. And then what also I like to do is I like to volunteer to take tickets at some of these free movies, and so I sign up to go to the movie. Well, if I can't get into the movie, then I sign up to take tickets out in front, and then I get the best seats in the house anyway. And so they do, it's movies for grown-ups, and they give them at Egan and Brooklyn Center and what I call the Small of America. And Sully was one of them. There was another movie that I saw that I loved was Remember, very interesting. And many times they're pre-release to the rest of whatever. Did you have a thought?
I just said, the university has some great continuing education courses too.
Don't
Take
they?
those once in a while.
Yeah.
They are very good.
Yeah, so the continuing education, there's something on shamanism, there's something on living until you die. It's very interesting, the different classes that are available and the different groups of people. So realize that it's good if you can come to a place like this, and it's good for you to meet the others, and it's good for you to think about building your own coalitions, your own groups. So know that the people in here, this is a major resource. Every single one of you has a lot to offer and has some very specific life experiences that can be very exciting. So,
There's a lot of good right here. in
oh,
this building.
yeah, and the Lennox building has a very powerful set of offerings. And so those newsletters are available out on a stand out front. And so, be curious. So now, turn the page to the circles, to the page of the circles. These circles are in a particular order at this point in time, as you see, but they don't have to be. But as we look at these circles, the blue circle is reflect, and that's what you've been doing today. You've been reflecting on what has been working for you in your life, what might be working for you. The reflection will maybe help you find your opportunities. The opportunities that you don't want to follow and the ones you do want to follow. So reflection is always a good thing, and some people do journaling, and sometimes that's reflecting. So know that reflecting is a very important key. Then if we go to the green circle, to connecting, you've been talking about that, connecting with each other, connecting with other people, whether it's comfortable or set up or not. I'm always better in a setting where I know what my role is. So I know that part, but also know that isolation, if you sit in your house all by yourself, talk to yourself, answer yourself, that is not good. Isolation can be fatal. It's when you get tired of talking to yourself and listening to yourself. And so it's really important for you to connect with others, no matter how comfortable you are in doing that. Well, I don't know, maybe in a grocery store for all I know. The exploring, we've been talking about that a lot. That's curiosity. And you might say, well, no, I don't like exploring, or I don't like to do those kinds of things. Well, maybe in the past, but there may be some new things for you to be thinking about. So exploring, testing different things. So some of you have been talking about how you've done a lot of the volunteer work. How you've been wondering how you would be in one kind of an area or another. Internships when you're a kid coming out of school, yay, everybody says, let's bring an intern in. Well, a group that Jay and I have belonged to is Shift, and we came up with the word midterm. And that is after you've done your own career, and now you're saying, okay, I've been doing that for X number of years and whatever. I know it. I don't necessarily want to keep on doing it that way. I don't necessarily want to be in a corporation. I don't necessarily want to, work with a bunch of people. It would be really fun if you could find a place to just talk with somebody, explore a little bit, see what a day is like. You could shadow them for a day or 5 or so. Exploring is always going to be good. So that's a discovery section. Exploring, the pink circle down at the bottom, the choosing. And that's when we kind of run into some trouble. If we say, well, there are way too many things for me to think about right now. So you might want to cycle back to the exploring and say, this sounds, I would like to be an underwater basket weaver. That's what I took my classes in. No. But you might find somebody who's doing that. There's somebody up in Duluth who's coloring with crayons and doing an excellent job. And there are lots of things that maybe you haven't thought about. As you become aware of them, try them out. Talk to somebody who's doing them. How did you get started? What do you like about it? When you get the choosing done, and you may choose 3 or 4, you may say, you know what, these 4 things are things that I've thought about over the years. When I was 4 years old, I loved doing this. I was really good at climbing trees. I'm not, can't do it anymore. But thinking about the things that were fun for you. And when you were a child, when you were in elementary school, when you were in teenagehood, and last year or 5 years ago. So you're choosing, that's when you say, okay, for today it's this. And maybe tomorrow you wake up and you say, let's not go there, let's try this. And you may find yourself going to a number of different spots and saying, oh, I'm going to try this out, oh, I'm going to try that out. And then as you think about it, you will begin to see that, okay, I had more fun when I was finding out about this. You might like to get into libraries. You might like to get into factories. Jay and I saw as we were driving here that Amazon is paying up to $17 an hour for people to come and pick the orders, get the books off the shelves. And, you know, so that might be fun. It might be just one of those fun things to do. So think about what might be possible. Give yourself a minute to try it. Once you've done some choosing, so now Richard Leiter has written several books. I don't know if any of you know who he is, but he's been in this business of writing books. He wrote the 3 Boxes of Life way back in the 70s or 60s or something, and he's continued to do exploration. Well, one of the things that he was exploring was taking a safari into Africa, and so he wanted to be prepared. You know how Boy and Girl Scouts are always supposed to be prepared. And so he packed his bag like you would not believe. He put chapstick in. He put anything that he thought he would like. And he was on the safari, and it was walking, so he had his backpack, and he started lagging way behind the other people. And so around the fire that night, he unpacked some of the things. And he had learned what some of the things were that he would not want, and he does not want to carry that weight. And so then the next day, he didn't lag as far behind. However, at fire that night, he took out some more things, and he made what he was carrying with him more reasonable for his action. So as you are moving forward, maybe you don't want to do that much reading on careers. Maybe you are talking with a bunch of people instead. You can throw that paper away. Or maybe you want to move into making these most wonderful croissants, and there's a bunch of extra stuff in your kitchen. Get rid of the extra stuff. So repacking what's important to you. Put in what you want to have. And then acting. And acting really takes place in every single one of these circles. So as you were saying, you find something you want to do and you go do it. And so that is acting. And coming here today is acting. You've taken some steps today. So as you look at the next page where we see the writing, notice that these circles are all described a little bit further, and so know that you have access to them. And know that the enemy of fear is acting. So if you're saying, no, I don't know if I could do that or not, well, try it. So the enemy of fear is acting. It robs you of finding out if something is what you want or not.
The only way you'll know definitively if what you want is possible is having it. Then you'll know. Up to then, you won't know whether it's possible or not. Although, as I said earlier in the beginning, the older we are, the more we think we know. That can be somewhat limiting in terms of reimagining. One of the greatest minds of the 20th century said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Albert Einstein. So here is one of the greatest minds, the greatest scientists of the 20th century, who freely admits that the power of the breakthroughs that he achieved in science came as a result of his curiosity and his imagination, his intuition, his flashes of insights. Just as important as his training and education as a scientist, as a mathematician. Children are great at imagining, aren't they? They can imagine a cow flying. They can imagine a moon made of cheese. There's one of my favorite stories. A teacher in class was giving her grammar school, grade school students an assignment to draw a picture of anyone or someone. And as the student started, she walked up and down the aisles, and she paused and looked over the shoulder of one girl who was drawing something that looked, she said, "What are you drawing, dear?" "Oh, I'm drawing a picture of God." "Sweetheart, no one knows what God looks like." "Well, if you'll just let me finish."
So, as you're thinking about some of these things, just know, taking small steps, really important. Writing some things down. So it isn't as though if you take a step in one direction and it doesn't turn out to be what you really want, you haven't lost anything. So take a risk, be willing. And again, kids will take a risk. They know what God looks like from their own. And so you can try out different things and say, okay, at this time, for now, this is what is true for me. And so let that be your guide. Let you be your guide. Move forward to the purple. See, I like to go by colors. To the purple pages. And what you have in your purple pages speaks a lot to the exploring, to the connection. If you decide to ask somebody to talk about their career, you'd be surprised at how much people are willing and interested in talking with you and seeing what you're thinking and having you listen to them. People love to be listened to. And so as you're thinking about the connecting, think about the friends that you have or the people you don't know yet. And as you're facing the challenge of when you walk away from here, what are you going to do next? Do you have people that you know that speak with courage? And if you don't, maybe that's going to be one of your new friends. How about somebody who responds to challenges? How about, somebody who will listen deeply? So take some time right now and write down the names of some of the people you know. They might be your new best friends here at your table, and or they might be at your home, at the work that you left. Feel free to reconnect with some of those people. So take a few minutes and write down some of the people that answer these questions in the squares, and then also add a few more. So if you have a 3-year-old kid that you can explore with, then by George, write that person down. If you have somebody who is 95 or 100 or triple digits, and you want to see what their point of view is, by George, write them down. Who are you curious about? I'm going to be quiet for a little while you go through this page. And while you're thinking about this page, look at the white page facing, and what is one thing you can do, will do, to forward your action. So each one of us is going to move forward in our own way. What can you do? What will you do to move your quest, your life forward? Board of directors, board of advisors, people that you will call on the phone, people that you'll get together with over breakfast or a glass of wine or champagne or something, whatever suits you, over a good cup of coffee. The personal board of directors, that's always good if you're thinking about starting up your own business. Do not start it up without other people to talk with that have some knowledge base that you can work with. Thank you. And share with each other at your table the one thing, or at least one of the things, that you're going to do to forward your action after you leave here. So share at your table. You know, that brings me to something that I've learned when I help people with their careers, and that is many times our families want us to stay the same as we were while we were going to work, and that they don't want us, you know, the people who know us well, really are invested in who you have been rather than who you're going to be. And so sometimes your family and your best friends are not your best connectors, and they may not be pushing you forward, and you may still find that person who's going to push you forward. That still may happen for you, so thank you. And thank you all for going through this. Just a couple notes while you're looking at your evaluation forms. Notice that on the back page of the book, you have some video stories that you can get at AARP and the Life Reimagined Life Map. So know that you have more resources available to you online. And if you guys decide to get together and have continuing conversations, please exchange phone numbers and contact information with each other. So know that you may have found your next best connections. Fill out the evaluation forms and put them face down on the back table. If you will notice, I put some of my cards out in case that's going to be useful to you. So take a card if you wish. It has been a pleasure.